Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Phil, I am the Down Under Maker. How is everybody this morning? Hopefully everything should be a little bit crystal clear today. I have just made some changes to the software setup, which means that hopefully, all three cameras now operate in 4K. The OBSBot software that runs the cameras normally, it was preventing it. No idea why. No response from OBSBot on their technical support, but hopefully things should be a little bit crisper and sharper now. Now, Nick has just told me that we can I can be heard, which is a bit of a new one for me. Normally at the very beginning of stream, I forget to unmute myself or something silly like that. And if you're watching chat, then you'll know that I've been trying to play with some settings to allow moderators to change the views. It doesn't look like it's actually 100% operational. I'll have to play with that a little bit more, but what that hopefully should mean is when I forget to change the view, moderators will be able to fix that for us to make things a little bit easier to work with. Now, we are waiting for Steve Builds to raid in, which should be any moment. Something must be wrong because we can hear you. Now, I'm just waiting for Steve's stream to raid in before we dive into things for one very good reason. There's a little bit of an announcement I need to make about what we've been doing, just to make sure that everybody's really clear on the situation. Hopefully any moment now. He's still talking. He's always talking. I even rescheduled to 3 minutes later to try and give him more time. That guy just, yeah. These big time YouTube creators pushing us little guys around. That's what it is. Okay, so where are we at? What we have been doing is we've been trying to get this Gen 2 EBB ready to use, and then we had some technical difficulties and some hassles and some fails and a whole bunch of other things. So what we're hopefully doing today is installing all the jumpers. Probably a good idea for commands is to have them outside of YouTube, like a private Discord channel for mods. Doesn't work that way, unfortunately, Nick. It won't allow that to work. This software that I'm using. Here we go. Here's Steve and all the rest of the guys. Hi, Steve. You big YouTube guys pushing us little YouTubers around and making us late as usual. Nah, Steve's a good bloke. He very kindly communicated with me when he decided he was going to stream on days just before me and let me know what was going on. Other creators would have just stomped all over it. So I'm very happy that Steve looks after me like this. Hi, Killer. Hi, Wiki. Hi, Nick again. Hi, Jeff. Hi, James. Come on, everybody say hi. Give me some engagement. I need it. Lots and lots of engagement, please, people. Okay, so as I was saying to the guys who started here at the beginning, you're a 3D printer noob. We all started there. Hi, don't knock it. Whenever it works for you, don't knock it. I realize that it's a pretty late stream for a lot of people. Admiradama, hi. Slim Gig. I'm not going to say hello to everybody as they come in. Andrew, you finally made one. And Phelps. So where are we at? We are going ahead with our EBB Gen2 configuration and wiring and things like that. I need to make something really, really clear. So anybody know anything about MakerBot Script? No, sorry, don't know anything about it. Hi, Reverend, and all the rest of you guys. Okay, not going to say any more highs. I'm just going to make a blanket. Hi, everybody. EBB42. Some of you know that I'm a beta tester for Bigtreetech. That's how I got access to the boards early. I was sent this original EBB42 along with its injector board, and it was awesome. Tested it, thrashed it, and then it started having a few niggly little bugs, and finally the USB injector board, it died. So Bigtreetech rushed me what I was told was going to be a production unit. It was actually a leftover beta test unit. So it has had a few strange things going on, and I want to make it really, really clear that this is not a production unit that we've got in my hot little hands here. Steve has production units, lucky him. I've only got another of the prototype boards that was hand assembled. Fingers crossed it keeps going for us, but it's been doing one or two little strange things, and I had to do some surgery on it to make it flash yesterday. So in order to prepare for the stream, I did do some due diligence and try and flash it with catapulting Klipper early, and then I was planning to just blanket and then do a flash for you guys on stream, and it wouldn't flash. Nothing I could do would get it to turn up on heads up down under maker. You didn't win Steve's giveaway. I know I didn't win Steve's giveaway. I had it on my phone here just beside me for a few minutes. So the board I have is still one of the betas, and I had to flash it using an STM link to get it to behave itself. And now it's responding on USB as it should and all the rest of it. So fingers crossed, everything should be good. But please don't take anything that goes wrong with this board as what will be expected on a production board. It's not a production board. It's a prototype board, and it was intended to be thrashed by beta testers and then thrown away. So where are we at? We need to do some programming and stuff, I think. So let's go and have a look at what's going on my desk. Let's move this now to... I'm upside down. Give me a moment. That one. Right click. Rotate me. There we go. Otherwise it's going to drive me nuts and my hands will be coming in from the top. Yeah. Anyway, so here we have it. Here's our board. You can see the little blue light is on. It's currently connected via a secondary umbilical. So I have plugged this in using the spare umbilical that I already have, so that we can look at it on the desk while I'm programming it and wiring it and all the rest of it. And then I will have to swap over the umbilical and we'll make the changes to the umbilical that's already attached to the printer. We're here for the smoke. Killer, if you can clip it for me so I can post it as a short, awesome sauce. I really wish I'd been able to capture the video of the toolhead burning down that I had a couple of weeks ago. That would have been amazing. Just an Australia thing. Yeah, there's lots of just Australia things going on. Speaking of which, there might be some work going on out the front. So there's a couple of trucks been going up and down trying to coax some kangaroos off the suburban street. So if you hear loud trucks, it's just them beeping to try and herd the kangaroos away. So where are we at? We have our thermistor dongle attached because once it was plugged in, I didn't want to mess with it. Here is the original prototype board. We're going to transplant the thermistor, sorry, not the thermistor, the heater cables across to the screw down port there. And we are then going to install jumpers and things. Now, I have created a zoomed in version of the overhead camera. And I've got a zoomed in side camera. So we'll see what happens and we'll see if any of these are any use. I think the side camera is going to be better for what we're doing here. So that's looking too far over there. Let's move it here. Now I am going to use this little bit of sticky tape to hold it on my desk because otherwise the cable is a bit thick and it ends up floating around on the desk and disappearing on me. So where is my bag of jumpers and stuff? Now this is the hardware kit that you will be getting with your production boards, with heat sinks and standoffs and all sorts of strange things. And I have raised a concern that the EB42 only comes with two brass standoffs. So hopefully Bigtreetech will address that for us. The heat sinks, which we'll install afterwards, because otherwise they just get in the way. Now, what we need to do is we need to set this up for 324 volt fans, because we have three fan headers and we're gonna run each fan individually, even though the part cooling fans will be one slaved off the other. Let's get rid of that. Let's go across to there and let's find my Chrome because it's disappeared on me. Now, this is me just checking a few minutes ago that the EBB was turning up. And yes, it is, but it's currently only flashed as a catapult board. So we'll have to do some more flashing. Hi Beardy, hi GTR. I've been good, thanks GTR. Hope you enjoy your filament. Oh no, you didn't get filament, or somebody got filament. Oh, Beardy got filament, that's who it was. I entered a US only filament draw on another stream a couple of days ago, and I only do it for the emotional roller coaster of win, can't get it, I'll hand it off to somebody else kind of situation. So that is definitely showing up. We are going to go to esoterical, usb.esoterical.com. Did I spell it wrong? Yep. No, it's online, that's why I got it wrong. Okay, that's the CAN bus one, Phil. USB. So we are flashing an STM32. Just having a look at chat. Yeah, I didn't get it. But you're already getting one. You've got several rolls incoming, so it's all good for now. I am not going to go over this with massive amounts of labor because we covered most of what I'm about to do in last week's stream. We will stop the Klipper service. Actually, I'm going to need putty up, aren't I? Let's go here. Let's load putty. Close that so I can see. Now I'm going to make this bigger, so hopefully that should be a bit easier for everybody to read. Okay, so that putty is not active. Let's close it. Let's load putty again. End of 5. And we're in. CD Klipper. Make clean. Make menu config. And we're in. STM32 with an 8 kilobyte offset, 8 megahertz crystal, and we're going to set a USB ID. And EBB Gen2, I've already set this up, so that's fine. Q. Make -J4. The other thing that happened to me during the week, everybody, is that my Raspberry Pi 3 let me down. So the machine now has a Raspberry Pi 4 bolted to the back of it. $50 for a kilo is ridiculous. Yeah, I would never expect anybody to ship that as a small-time YouTuber. I only enter for the giggles. Might want to zoom the next time on the console. 4K makes it small. The other thing I can do for you guys is change settings, appearance, and change the font, and we found that 16 is pretty good. Oh, GTR, don't stress it, man. This all started out as a joke between me and projects in Dad's garage. He had some really nice Allen keys that he was chopping into pieces on a stream for no apparent reason. And I said, what a waste of perfectly good Allen keys. And he decided because I was short of Allen keys, he was going to send me some. That's where a lot of this joke all started. So hopefully that font is a bit bigger and you guys can see it. Make it 32. I'm not going to make it 32 because then it disappears off the screen. Settings. Appearance, change. Let's go 20. Apply. There we go. That's even bigger for you guys. You guys should be able to read that nice and easily, even you old men. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to flash the board. And then once we flash the board, we are going to need to start installing jumpers, install the board onto the printer, and then hopefully get it going. Now, if this stream doesn't end up going the full 2 hours, I apologize. I have got a few things that we might be able to pivot to, but my primary task at this point is to get this Ender 5 running and get it kind of out of the way. Australia needs this unspooled filament. Okay. Guys, please don't distract me. I keep looking up and reading and then I lose track of what I'm doing. So we have Klipper built and we're ready to flash it. So let's quickly jump across the Chrome and let's get this next bit. So we need to stop. Now I did used to have this awesome view where we could do putty. Let's see if it's still built. On one side, and then we could do Chrome on the other side. Let me see if I can get that to show for you guys. Add. Sorry, I know this is annoying for you guys, but if we can get this showing up, it's going to make life easier. Window capture. And then we go, whoop. And then we can all see what's going on, and you see what I see, sort of, except I don't have to look through me. So let's stop Klipper. And Klipper is stopped. If we were looking at Klipper right now, we would see that we have a big fat error. Hopefully. Yep, it's errored out, so we know that that's definitely closed. We've already done the make, so now we need to get the USB ID. And there we go. Copy, paste. And we're done. So let us do this to make sure it's worked. And we can see that we now have that logical name now set as EBB Gen2. Now, anybody who missed last week's stream, go back and have a look at it. I did a pretty in-depth explanation where we flashed a whole bunch of boards to make sure that the names of them actually meant something, because on this build, there's going to be, I think, 3 RP2040s, and trying to determine which one is which is just a nightmare. So we started using these logical names rather than just the serial numbers. And it makes life easy, providing you're rigorous with making sure that you don't name everything the same. That's why we like Aussie content. We can follow without... Okay. Now, let's have a quick look at this. That's all now running. We've checked that that's all working, so we can now start a Klipper. Enter. Now I'm going to copy that USB ID address. That's already copies anyway. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go across to this. Now, this is my Klipper. Let's open that. Let's go to machine. Let's go to our EBB Gen2 config, which we've already got built. And I'm going to copy in the ID that we just copied. Control V. Save and restart. Drum roll. Will it load? And we're in. Now, if we have a good look here on the screen, MCU EBB is showing that we are connected to that toolhead board. So we have it programmed. The next thing we need to do is shut all this down. Now, I probably should have used the software power off, but I don't want to waste your guys' time. Let's go to our side cam for now, because that's... So here we are, here's the board. And where's my little screwdriver? The next is all wiring this up. I'm going to try and keep my hands as reasonably steady as I can. And hopefully you should be able to see a much crisper image than you had last week. So that one's out. There we go. Now I have noticed that this terminal is kind of compressed, so what I'm doing is I'm just very gently levering that up. So now you can see that the holes are nice and open. That is a little bit too long as well. Now this is a heater cartridge, so polarity is actually irrelevant. That's why I'm not paying any attention to what the pinout is for this, because it actually doesn't matter. Now, the downside of having this zoomed in so you can see is that it's only a very small field of view. So if I wander out of the field of view with my hands every so often, I apologize. I'm just trying to keep it in as much as I can. So what we've got going on here is our heater cartridge adapter is now in place. We already had our thermistor in place, and now we need to put some jumpers on. So let us go to Bigtreetech GitHub, not the beta GitHub, the public one. Sorry guys, I'm just being absolutely sure I don't show you stuff I'm not allowed to. Get rid of that index off the side and go to browser. It's here somewhere. EBB 42 pinout. And here we go. Now let's do a little bit of a zoom out on that image so you can see a bit better. So let's quickly go over this, and this is a new version of this file that I wasn't able to show anybody before, so let's quickly go around it. Up the left-hand side of the board, we have the connection for the List2DW, which is the accelerometer. We then have our JST output for our stepper motor. We have the voltage selector for fan header 0, and then the fan itself. Next we have the 3-pin fan header and the pinout for it. Then we have the voltage selector for it, an end stop, filament runout sensor, which could also be an end stop depending on your viewpoint, the 5-volt probe, which I know that Steve was 5-volt or probe voltage in selector for that I know Steve talked about. 5 GPIOs, which you can use for whatever you want in reality. The thermistor, which we've just plugged the header into. Our RGB port, the hot end out, CAN bus terminator resistor. Now, this is something that is a little bit different between the 42 and the 36 boards. On the 42 board, the two CAN headers are in completely separate locations, which makes life a little bit easier and a little bit safer. It's much more difficult on this board for you to have the selectors plugged in the wrong spots. Then we've got our dual purpose USB and CAN bus port for pass-through, and our I2C port for datary stuff. Lastly, over here, we've got our third fan port. So we're going to need to set up all 3 of our fan ports today. And then we're going to need to plug in some fans. I might even need to do some crimping, I think. So according to this, for our first port, let's go to here. We're going to need to put it on the right-hand 2 pins to set that for, oh no, left-hand 2 pins for 24 volts. We are then going to need to set fan 2 to 24 volts, which means it's the bottom 2 for that header. So that's this one and this one. And then we need to come over to this other side of the board near the heater output, and we need to put it on the right hand side. I hear 220 volt AC will really make a toolhead hot. I don't know where Nick's got this idea from that I fried my toolhead by plugging it into the mains, but he can't even get the voltage right because we're 240 to 250 volts here. Stepper out is what we're going to need. What else are we going to need? We need to plug fans into each of the headers. Now, I don't have a fan with a tachometer on it for this build, so we're not going to need to worry about that. The last thing I just want to amplify as a thing for people. In order to make the toolhead board itself know to accept CAN bus data, you need to install a header here, a jumper here rather, onto this header. So right next to the XT32+2, you need to put a little jumper onto this header to put it into CAN bus mode. Then it actually knows it's expecting CAN bus data. It still has to be flashed and all the rest of that stuff, but that's how it knows to expect it in that format. We're not doing that. We're using USB because I'm a sucker for punishment and I want to reuse all my USB ports. But yeah, there we go. So that is now all set up as far as I can tell for what we can do from here. And then we're going to have to move things around in a minute to start wiring this up. So let's show you what's going on with the printer. Now this might be a bit all over the place, people, and I'm sorry about that. I'll set it up as best as I can. Okay, so what we currently have plugged in is the spare umbilical. That's what was plugged in to do all the desktop testing and flashing. You're probably not going to have one of those unless you either do something silly and buy a new one as a replacement, or you just buy a lot in the first place so you have spares on hand. So I've just plugged in the in-place umbilical that we were dealing with the other day. So that's now all plugged in. Just a simple swap of the Microfit 3 4-pin plug. And that's all pre-wired. It was all working there, so there should be no changes we need to make. Now, what we need to do is turn the printer around. And hopefully not make you guys all seasick. There. And I need to install this toolhead board. Let me get some M36s. Actually, I've already got a couple on the... Now, thank you, Nick, for that reminder for ordering those. That's not an M36, that's too long. Now, for the design I've done, I actually need to plug this in first and then screw the board into place. Yeah, having the voltage selectors everywhere was one of the big things that the beta team fed back on. Now, the reason I'm doing the diagonals first is purely that there's a lot of torque from that cable at this point. So I'm just doing that to protect the wiring and lower the stresses. Last screw. Are they doing large multi-unit injector boards for tool changes? Honestly, if you were going to do a tool changer, go CAN bus. Why would you go through the misery of needing all of those USB ports when CAN bus doesn't need any of that? There should be no need to put yourself through that sort of harm. So that is a full-size JST on there that I need to cut off and replace. And everything else should be good. Let's plug it in. Now, I'm not going to go to the hassle of cable management at this point, guys. That is actually designed to tuck in behind there, lengthwise. That is the PT1000. So let's plug that into the thermistor port. I'm going to tuck the heater over the top just to keep it a little bit safe. And I know the adage, temporary wiring becomes permanent wiring. And just realized that tucking both of those over would actually help with the wiring I'm doing. Hopefully you guys can see my arm's not too much in the way. So heater wiring, that is our RGB, which also is going to need to be changed. And those I already crimped to be GST-PH. So we're going to need to cut those others off. Let's turn the printer around a bit. Totally stealing Nero's or Canuck Creator's patented filament box camera support. That's not very level, Phil. Why does Steve need to close his eyes? I don't understand what's going on. Oh, mind you, that's not unusual, is it, guys? Now, let's do something sensible and plug in the two already crimped fan wires. So for that, we are going to use fan 0 and fan 2. Oh, fan 1. Fan 0 and fan 1. And which way around do we need? 5 volt. This was one of the things I asked them to change, and it doesn't look like they've got to it. Can you see a flaw with the layout of the fan headers and the descriptors? Let's just focus in on this. Which pin is which? Okay, we have ways around this. If you have a look in the bottom corner of the screen, you'll see that I've just dug my multimeter out. What we're going to do is we're going to beep out which one is the positive, because the positives are always on. And that should then tell us which way around to pin the plugs. So let's set this to beep mode. I'll lay it back. You might not be able to see the screen, but loading. It's in beep mode. It actually looks not too bad like that. Let's turn it around. I didn't realize that this one was upside down. Let's just quickly fix it. It's the drawback of having swapped out of the OBSBot software, some things that have gone a bit strange with the orientations of the cameras. So we know that voltage in on the hot end is the bottom pin. We can quite easily see that that pin there is our voltage in because it actually matches. So we know that that's our positive. So what we know about these boards is everything is switched off the negative pin. So we can then just find continuity. Can you guys hear this? Maybe not. Sometimes you can. And double check. So on the right hand side on this port, the positive is the bottom pin, the same as the heater output. So let's find us a 2-pin plug. Goes that way around. My arm's probably right in the middle of shot again. One, two, double checking the orientation before I shove them all the way home. And where's my tweezers? I find that using tweezers just to push these all the way home makes a big difference to how securely they stay. Ah, the crimp came off. Don't you hate that, people? I'm just going to rip that off. We don't have time for that. So this is where you get to watch me do a whole bunch of pH crimps really badly. Might want to switch to the big camera. Side cam. It's here somewhere. There. Sorry, guys. Crimper. I had my crimper out. There it is. One. Jake, that's one thing you missed at the beginning of the stream by hanging out with Steve too long. I've got a bunch of macros that I'm working with to actually allow mods to be able to change the view. Something not right with this crimp. I'm going to swap it out. Oh, it's just sitting funny. There we go. It sounds like the local authorities actually stripping out a lot of the grasses and vegetation that the kangaroos were coming up the street for. That's why I always give it a tug test. These pHs are right on the limits of what my crimper can do. And that one failed altogether. Good job to give you this giant ribbon. I'm just going to strip a little bit off that one as well, because it'll actually balance out the lengths from that stripping I just did a minute ago on the other wire. There we go. That's just not crimping nicely onto the insulation. But I have three more sets of crimpers we can try. Gah. Doesn't help that I'm reaching up so high to do this. That's better. And just for a bit of added security, okay. I knew I was dooming myself when I did that. I thought, I'll be good. I'll crimp down the first one that actually worked nicely again with this other tool, and then I accidentally crushed the whole crimp. I'm just practicing my Zen here, guys. We've all been here. We've all been standing here, crimping wires and having a bad day of it. I'm just happy to be doing it while there's 30 odd people watching. There, not going to mess with it anymore. Get them inserted. 2-pin pH. And we said that positive was the bottom one. So that goes that way around, that way, so that needs to go there. That one goes in there. They don't line up neatly, but they will cope. And what I'll probably end up doing, because these wires are nice and long, is after the stream I'll tidy that up when I don't have you guys all breathing down my neck. Nick is coming up towards summer, so they won't get cold. Am I right in saying that if I was to get one, I could run it in CAN mode without the injector board? Yes, you can run them without the injector board in CAN mode. However, if you use the injector board, it gives you that nice microfit 3 4-pin plug to use. And what you would then do is, where's the spare old injector board? The broken one. That's not it, that's the toolhead board. Anyway, just trust me on this. The JST there's a JST header on the board that you can use to put CAN bus into the microfit 3. And then you get the 24 volts and all that stuff, and it's just easier to work with. So we've got one done. That one was rubbish. So let's cut our losses and do this right for you guys. Now, this wire gauge is just a tiny bit too small for the stripper part of these wire strippers. So I'm having to use the blade, which is not ideal. And many of you are going to ask is, why do I prefer the ratcheting kind of GST crimpers? It's because I'm a lefty. And the non-ratcheting kind are all made for right-handed people. That's actually not too bad. It's not even, or it's not ideal, but we'll go with it. Now let's pin check that other side as well. So at the end of stream, what I'm going to do is I am going to message my Bigtreetech beta people again and get them to fix that diagram. So on this side, which makes logical sense because the header is rotated 180 degrees, it's now the top pin that is positive on that one. So that goes in that way, that goes there. Double check this by eye. Yep, top one is positive. And I have the pinout still up on my screen here, so I'm just checking and plugging into the right socket, and it goes in just below the JST header for the stepper motor. So there. Here was me thinking that we would possibly run out of things to do, and I'm now taking extra time faffing around doing a lot more crimping than I expected. One. Two. Hi, Emma. Crimper. That's not the crimper I'm using. There's the crimper I'm using. 1. Tug test is fine. So I submitted my last report on the last beta project that I've got currently on in my workshop here at the moment yesterday. And then all of a sudden, because oftentimes there's a bit of a lull between each project, all of a sudden I get a message going, hey, we're going to do this now. I'm like, okay. So there's more new gear coming through. So hopefully we should see even more new hardware coming over the next few months. I can't tell you which manufacturer it's from, but in case you didn't realize, I just screwed up that previous crimp, so I'm doing it again. Little tug test, it's fine. Now, this is the hot end fan, the heatsink fan. We need to check which pin is. So it's the 3 pin, and it would be this one's actually easy to deal with. Need a 3-pin socket, and we only need the right 2 pins, and it goes in. Let's check which way around it goes in, because it's a bit tight in there. That way. And the center is the red. Center positive. Click, and right is negative switched. That's going to need the tweezers. Click. I know I'm saying click out loud, and that might sound weird to some people, but that's the sensation you get as it goes home, so I may as well tell you guys when I feel it. Right, quickly checking. There's the RGB header, ground signal and positive. May as well do it while we're here. Can you guys hear the guys working outside? Dave's not here, man. Now it looks like the noise filtering is cancelling out the brush cutters that they're using. Now the RGB wires I'm using are a couple of gauges bigger. They're much easier to strip. And hopefully much easier to crimp. So they're all stripped. I know it's a nasty thing to do to side cutters, but there's a few strands of loose wire. You know what, for this I might go around the other side. It'll mean you guys can see a little bit better, but you won't be able to see me as much, which is win for everybody, I guess. 1, 2, 3. take the crimper with me. Now, I can't see chat at all from this spot, so anybody who says anything, I won't get done until I get back to the usual spot. There. Just going up that small amount of wire gauge makes them so much easier to crimp. Now, rather than me standing here silent and concentrating, let's talk and distract myself a bit more. For those who don't know, I do have a Discord, which everybody's more than welcome to join. For the most part, it's Nick, Jex, and Bearded Jake, and myself sharing memes. But we also answer printer questions from time to time when people ask them. And we're pretty casual, there's not many rules. So, they look like they're nicely crimped. Tell you what, it was a good job I managed to sort out this 4K stuff. Okay, so the plug goes that way around, and the data is in the middle. Now this is wired so that the white cable is the data. Then we need ground to the left. And positive to the right. And did I get that completely asked about? No. I'm just having trouble getting it to seat. There. And done. So, all the wiring is done. Is everybody ready to clip it in case something strange happens? Hi Ang, how are you? So, clipping at the ready, let's see if we get any magic smoke. Data connection made. Ow, I just stabbed myself with one of the probes. The Reverend. Stuck in the middle with you. Okay, nice. So, everything appears to be going as we expect it to. Let's jump into mainsail. We have our EBB board responding. Even the temperatures look more or less sensible. The EBB42 reported temperature for the chip is a bit low. I'm not really fussed about that. It's not the end of the world. So what that means is I'm confident enough that we can put in a couple of cable ties to help support this cable. How many people here are the kind of people who are, all of the ratchets must line up on their tie straps, zip ties? And I am. Don't forget to add the heatsink if you haven't already. Heat sinks, good idea. Now, let's have a quick look back at this. I don't think it's going to let us zoom any closer than this. So let's open image in a new tab. Here we go. And zoom in. Why am I zooming in, you ask? Let me show you. This picture is so high resolution, you can actually see that this chip here is the TMC stepper driver, which is going to need a heatsink. Here is the STM32 mainboard, and this is the muxing USB stuff going on here as far as I understand it. And down here, this is a big fat MOSFET just behind the text. So let's zoom it, let's visit it across a bit. There you go, that's the big fat MOSFETs. Let's have a quick look. STM32, TMC, they're the ones that are going to need the heat sinks. You see 20 thumbs up here, but good to remind people to give a thumbs up. Definitely, thumbs me, give me a thumb. Now, double checking over my shoulder before I stick this in place. Now remember people, always have your clipping ready. Because you never know, I might touch something and the whole thing might give off the magic smoke. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I've often found that the tape on these heat sinks sometimes goes bad. So I actually have a roll of it spare in my parts bin, and I definitely recommend other people do it because there's nothing worse than destroying the tape and then having no way to replace it. Now, I'm being sensible about this, kids. Let's go to hands. No, not hands, side cam. I'm using ceramic tipped tweezers. And they're in. So the big heatsink is for the stepper driver, and the little heatsink is for the STM32. At least that's what I was told. And then we can go from there. Need to switch to Magic Smoke Cam. I was on Magic Smoke Cam. Right. So let's go back to Chrome now. And let's go to mainsail. Let's put a very gentle heat onto that hot end and see if anything happens. That's the heated bed. That's not what I'm after. Good to know that the heated bed is slowly warming up. So let's turn that off. Let's set this to 30 degrees initially. Hot end fan has come on. That's not changing. That's also not the right fan. So, and hopefully that is Klipper going, I wasn't heating as expected. So safeties are working. Let's go back to firmware restart. And we're going to need to change around some of these pins. We're also going to need to go to that Klipper That's how to use it on RatOS. Do they have any code for it here, just for quickness? No. That's what we need to do. Right, we've got that set to one side. So first of all, let's go to here. So PB7, is that correct? No, that's not what I'm after, Phil. That one. Aha! I knew there were some pins that weren't quite right. PB4. So we know that our hot end fan was set onto fan 2, which is PB4. So let's hash that out for a second using Control/. Go PB4, then save and restart. I forgot how annoying all this extra stuff was. Let's just check PB14 is right. Yes, it is PB14, so we can turn on the NeoPixel stuff. Control/. Don't need any of that for now. I'm getting this all backwards, aren't I? I've blown up too many fan ports to be messing up when uploading. Do they have an EBB Gen2 config file? Yes, the file is on the GitHub. Let's go back. Which hopefully is what we're looking at. Let me zoom this out. No, that's the schematic. Software, there we go. Let's just look at this and see if anything's changed. This is the exact one I'm using as far as I know. So what I've just done is I've pulled the tab out so I can see side by side what you're seeing on what I've got on my config. PD3, PD2, PB6. Yeah, this is all the same. The only difference is I've switched over to a PT1000. All right, let's do something a little different. Let's just get rid of that. Let's unjumble our fans, and then we'll come back and we'll fix this up. So we have a fan somewhere here. Fan. Which fan turns on? None of them? Great. Night, Andrew. Yeah, definitely catch me whenever you can, man. It's all good. I realize that I'm at an odd time, especially for the east of the US. So let's go through this logically, shall we? Fan 0 is PB8. I'm in the wrong spot. Go back, Phil. Dashboard. Slide the fan to 100%. So that's one of the fans. So we know that that's working. So now what we should be able to do is multiplex that using the software to activate both of those ports. So let's do that. Set the fan to off. Go to machine. Open up the Gen2 config. So that is there, and we need to set up for multi-pin. Copy. So multi-pin, defining it as fan. The pins we need to define are PB8, fan underscore, let's call it part fan. So it's PB8, and on the other side of the board it was PB15. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to hash out that line. Copy that line. Paste it in here. And then call it part underscore fan. And then we delete that. Save and restart. PB8 is not a valid pin on MCU. We need to put EBB at the beginning, don't we? And we're up. So let's go to dashboard, and let's go down to fans, and let's turn them both on, hopefully. And I know you guys can't see it. You'll just have to trust me on this. We have both of those fans running. So let's turn them off so they're not irritating me in my ear. Okay, so I need to set a minimum fan setting on that, and we probably need a kickstart. So let's go to Control C. So for those who don't know, kickstart basically sets the fan to 100% for a short period of time to get it up and spinning. And it's a really good idea on part fans because it this means that they spool up almost immediately. So I'm telling it to spool up for half a second at 100% and then drop back to whatever setting it is, which just gets the over the initial inertia of the spinning the fan up. So that's now done. So next we need to set up that heater fan. And it's not on PB15, it is on PB4. So we need to hash those out, unhash those rather now. So EBB PB4 responds off the extruder, responds when the extruder goes over 50 degrees. But for some reason we weren't getting any heat up. So let's do something logical. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to turn the printer around. so you guys can see a little better. Let's go to side cam. Let's just do something logical and put my finger on here and see if we get any raise in temperature. We're not getting any increase in temperature at all. So that tells me that either the sensor is dead, or more likely my little header wiring is bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip this, I'm going to crimp it again, and then we are going to give it another try. Now, just showing you the way. That's about how much I normally strip off. Now, please bear with me a second. Mrs. Maker's messaging. All right, nothing to worry about right now. For those not in the loop, Mrs. Maker hurt herself quite badly a couple of weeks ago. So when she messages, I just need to make sure she doesn't need me to do anything urgently. You know what I'd like? One of those industrial crimpers that can crimp 5 or 6 of these side by side. Because that would mean I get all of these all lined up all at once and they just work. And you don't end up tearing back the join between the insulation anywhere near as far. Just to accommodate these slightly thicker wires, I opened up the prongs on the crimp, but I did it a bit too far. Nope, missed. That crimp was probably doomed anyway. Am I a dummy, or could they start using sensible names for various pins instead of... It's just how the chip manufacturers do it, dude. So that's actually set at the firmware level inside the chip. I mean, if you look at some configs, they actually have like a definitions file. So what it has is a whole library of, let's bring this back up. So here we see how we've created this definition of multi-pin and we're calling it part fan. You can actually go through and create definitions to say hot end fan, and it has this number. This fan, this fan, this fan for each of the boards. But then you end up typing a huge long word rather than just PB5 or PB6. It swings and roundabouts. you gain somewhere and lose in others, because then you start getting lots of typos. That's all crimped. Where's my forceps? Yeah, there's an aliases file. My Cybor V0, that's how they do it on the Cybor. They have this big aliases file, which means that they can keep the same config and have multiple boards, and whichever board they include with the machine, you just tell it it's that board and the rest of it handles itself. It's not my day with these crimps. Let's go to that one so you can at least see what I'm doing. The sideboard machine was pretty well thought out. And the hardware they gave you to help build it was amazing. Some really nice Allen wrenches. My preferred crimper, this crimper, came with it. But then they chose to use some really off-brand hardware for the electronics, which then made life a misery. So I've recrimped that. Let's plug it into here. Interesting thing is, even without the thermistor plugged in, Klipper hasn't shut down, which makes me think something odd going on. I'm hoping it's not the ports failed or something like that. Right, that's inserted. Although I did set those gates pretty wide, didn't I, last week when we were playing with this file? So let's see what happens. Let's go close. Dashboard. It's not changed. So let's just show you. The fact that it's jumping around all over the place makes me think it's floating. So it's not getting a signal. Let's try... What else have I got floating around? No. Aha! I have a Revo here. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to unplug the unscrew the Revo, which let me take the heater core off, which has the thermistor built in. Okay, where did I put that there? So this is the 104 NT. That's the heater wire, that's the thermistor. Something strange going on. No, I'm just for giggles making sure that I have actually disabled all of the Phil forgot to disable all the extruder from the original printer config. So that's now been, let's go control /. So that's now removed. Let's save that file. Let's go close. Let's go back to this file, to the EBB. Now this file should take precedence. Save and restart. Completely expecting something odd to be happening? Yes, that's more like it. And now let's go here. That should be a 2200. No idea why it was set like that. Maybe I was messing with it. Machine. Right, let's double check our pin is set correctly, because we've had some strange things going on with that. PB0 is the hot end. Thermistor pin is PA1. Thermistor pin is set to PA1. Your kitchen just flooded. Oh no. Been there, done that. So at this point, we need to, I'm pretty sure it's 4700 on this board. Let's have a look at the schematic. Back, hardware, schematic. Thermistor is R43. I can't add that up today. I'm having one of those days. That says it's 2.2, and that says it's 2. I'm going to make a guess that that's supposed to be 4700. Doesn't help that I'm using the wrong thermistor now, not PT1000. Okay, that's a lot more sensible of a reading, even though it's not the right reading. Let's try that back at 2200. Because I didn't have it plugged in properly. Save and restart. Sorry, guys. Yeah, always YOLO, Nick. Definitely always YOLO. It seems happier now. Yay! It looks like the right temperature. Let's put my thumb on it. Now, I'm basically just touching the sock at this point in the very tip of the nozzle, so it does seem to be climbing very slowly. Let's go 40C. And there we go. We have it climbing. Sweet! Oh, you said the same thing. Awesome. So, that's heating as we were expecting it to again. Nice. So, what we're going to do next, we are going to quickly remove any unnecessary cables from up here. I am quickly going to insert the PTFE receiver into there. Now, I was kind of hoping we would get at least close to this point. Almost dragged my multimeter off the desk. I built a little contraption to temporarily hold the piano wire that I've run up with my PTFE and the data cable. So I'm just going to quickly put all the heatset inserts into that. They're here. And then we'll get that mounted on the back of the printer. Just the tip. So just showing you guys what this is. It's just a plate with many, many holes, basically. 4 outer holes here are going to be for, let's just cover that. These 4 holes are for mounting it to the 40-20 extrusion. So they're 20 mils apart. And these holes here are carefully calibrated so that this hole and this hole line up with this hole. If I put heat sets in here and then put 4 millimeters into them, I'll be able to retain the piano wire that goes just between the heads. So hopefully that works. And the extra 2 holes, I don't know what I was thinking, but they ended up in there anyway. So just off the screen, I'm using the heatset press. I'll move it back into screen in a sec. Come on, focusy focus. Come on, follow my paw. All the way down. It's not going to do it. It's hating the various heights. Just trust me, guys. Let's go to side cam, in fact. Side cam. There. Don't know how that got into this tray, but that's not a standard Voron heat set. It's too short. But for this, it doesn't matter, so I'm not going to question it. So there we go. There's our heat sets all installed. And some M3x4s. One, 2, 3 of them. Let's turn that off before I burn my hands. and they need that. Shrimp Father, about time you got here, dude. Where have you been? If you were one of my students, you'd be owing me time at recess. So, just to clarify, and I'm see if I've got something I can demonstrate it with there. So this is slightly larger than the piano wire, but idea is piano wire goes between those three, and then I clamp them down and it should hold the piano wire nice and snug. I might need to put a washer on this one, I think, but in principle it should hold the piano wire nice and snug and prevent it from going anywhere. Been at your mum's house. Did she serve you good pie or something? That would be a good excuse for not being here. So I'm just going to move you guys up here. And let's turn the printer around this way. Now it could be that I end up changing this whole idea, but this is at least the principle behind it. So that's going to go there. Yeah, that will work, I think. Yep. So let's get some hammerhead T-nuts. They're rockings, they're hammerheads. 1, 2, no, that one. 3, 4. A bunch of M3/8s. 1, 2, 3, 4. That way around. Now I think I've probably undershot on the size of this plate. I can't show you guys easily. I think I've undershot on the width of this plate. It probably needed to be another 5 mils wider on this end and 10 mils wider on the other. But it's such a small part that I can reprint and change it around as often as I need to. On by half a turn. Let's go for the top-down view. Got to run. No worries, Jeff. Hey, I know all about taking wives to surgeons, man. Completely understand. Now, I'm going to be winding up in about 10 minutes, guys, unless we get really close. But I think next week will be PID tuning and all that stuff, and hopefully be able to start another project. Quite what I haven't decided yet, to be honest. You had to eat chili that your mum's neighbor made. Was it any good at least? Last two hammerheads on, just putting them on by like a turn. Align them all so they fit into the trail. And I think it's going to need to be about this high. So let's go back to there. Where's apparently my Apple Watch thinks I haven't been exercising enough and standing up. But you guys have seen me. I haven't been slacking off. I think I may have read the data sheet wrong and I might need M310s. Because there isn't quite enough room for the hammerhead to turn around. And that just bangs up against the frame. So let's swap these out for 10s. Put that over there. Maybe we could do a screw sorting stream. Creator gets away with them. No, I'm not that good. I have so much stuff that's got mounted up with taking care of Mrs. Maker and the kids that I just need to tidy this room up really badly. It's mostly a case of throw everything to one side so it's off camera so that I can do the stream and then never get back to it to tidy it up afterwards. Did he give you the farts? Hi, Tulsa Skin. How you going with your Core 1, dude? All right, so because that's 4 less to do another day. M310s. I need to play with some settings on my ABS profile for the Core 1 because it seems to under extrude a little bit on the top layer. And the rest of the house is not this disorganized, and this is starting to get to me. I mean, I'm not the sort of person who obsesses about a little bit of untidiness, but it does wear me down sometimes. Is going good. A little bit of a learning curve with Prusa Slicer. The one thing that I couldn't work out for ages was how to switch back from the already sliced view to the preparing your parts on the build plate. And it's just that those two buttons in the bottom left-hand corner. And it took me an embarrassingly long time to find that out. And the other thing I noticed is people who tune their 3MFs around Prusa take a lot of liberties because the 3MFs hide a lot of their sins in their design. Like the 3D Sets trucks printed so much more easily on the Core 1 because they were specifically coded to work with Prusa Slicer. That's already on that screen, that's good. So now I should be able to feed this piano wire in between these screws. Ah, they needed to be the other way around. Well, if I do that, it's not too bad. And so the reason for the other two holes, this hole and this hole, was my musings around how I would retain the cable itself. So let's just tighten these in a little bit. This hasn't worked quite how I was anticipating. It'll be enough to take at least some of the weight off. And that one's not even going to touch the wire, so I do need to think about that solution a little bit better. But it's taking the strain. So how can I show you this? A bit too close. Let's see if we can go out of it with this. Sorry guys, making you seasick. That way. So nice tall arch which we can trim and tune as we need to. And I've got some ideas now, having put that plate together, on how I can address the issues. So that's actually good learnings. So we have way too much PTFE, which I can deal with. We have everything else. This could all be shortened. This bit below. This bit could all be shortened off. But I was trying to get this all kind of like worked out in my head. We've got all that ready to go. We have 4 minutes to go till the end of the stream, so I'm not going to press things any further. Let's go back to just me. Where did we get to? We didn't blow up an EBB42 Gen 2, which is good. We worked out that I'm a numpty and hadn't removed the extruder settings from printer.cfg to then allow the EBB42's extruder settings to work. Sorted that out. We can now see, if I do this, my very jank way I've attached my Raspberry Pi 4 that's replacing the Raspberry Pi 3, which means I need to reprint all of this electronics holder. Not a big deal. For those who don't know, the network and the USB ports between the 3 and the 4, they got transposed. So I can't use the same one. I'm going to have to adjust it. Not that I care, because I accidentally broke it anyway. So that's all going to get changed. I'm actually think I'm going to reprint this all in black with a little bit of white lettering done here. But to be decided. And then I need to move my PTFE holder from over here to over here, and the same with the PTFE, so the spool holder and the PTFE guide all over to the same side. And we should be able to print next week. I do have a cartographer in my box of tricks, and we do have a sort of a spare-ish mounting point on the toolhead. So during the week, I'm going to see if I get time to actually manufacture a means of supporting the cartographer, so we can use that alongside the amount that we've got here, and go from there. Steve Paul, no smoke, that's a good day. Yes, it definitely is. Have you got the hardened nozzles for yours? Yes, I have. I've got a 0.6 and a 0.4. Let's go. Sorry, I'm just replying to Tulsa Skin here, wrong one. 0.6 and 0.4s. And what I suggest you do is, if you've got any of the little magnets left lying around from a Voron build, just stick them inside the tube, because then, where is it? That side. They just stick there. The other thing I did was I got grumpy with the nozzle holder, and I hot glued a magnet to it, purely and simply because I considered it a waste of plastic to print another one just to embed a magnet in it. But I am going to create a remix of the guy on Printable's file to actually have a magnet that you can press into it. Other thing I've got for the core one is a proper PTFE textured plate, which has the nice PO or PE, whatever it is, rainbow effect on the other side. And if you put an N52 magnet in the opposite side well, your spare print plates actually fit very nicely in there. And if the bamboo build plates go on special, they also fit, because these tend to go on special fairly regularly. This is the Bigtreetech one they sent me a while back for a prize. And if you're careful with them, they do fit nicely in there. So that's another way of getting cheap build plates. So back to what we were talking about. Need to tidy up my electronics box. I need to tidy up a few bits of pieces of wire. I need to redesign the blue cable retention plate that I made, just to, now I've learned a few things from doing it. And then we will be ready to print next week and do all the PID tuning and all that sort of stuff. So I have been Phil. Where's that one? Just me. I have been Phil. I have been the Down Under Maker. This has been quite a hectic stream, but we didn't kill any electronics. Thank you all for joining me. It's time for me to hop on out of here. Bye, guys.